there, you awakening wonders. Thank you for joining me today. If you're watching us on YouTube, there's a link right there in the description. Very subtly do this so the algorithm don't spot it. Join us over on the other place where we can speak freely. Because Wim Hof, the Iceman, is a fascinating chat, let me tell you. Because in addition to his powerful breathwork methods and his dalliances with extreme cold, he has powerful scientific evidence that reveals the depths to which the pharmaceutical industry are trying to replace your own natural immunity, a phrase that until recently you weren't able to use. You might know him because of his astonishing feats, swimming under ice, climbing mountains in his pants. In our conversation at Community, we talked about his techniques and how they provide a meaningful alternative to the medical industry and Big Pharma. And, interestingly, his belief that all of us are able to intercede in our own health, accessing deep power within us that can stop us suffering from some of the most life-threatening conditions in the world. And as you'll know if you watch the Cali Means episode, and as you'll know if you follow our content closely, conditions that are inflicted due to big food and big pharma policies to an extraordinary degree. We talk about the pandemic and we talk about the necessity of gatherings such as Community. I hope you join us next time. You're going to love this conversation. Hello, I'm being joined by Wim Hof, who you may know as the Iceman, whose breathwork and cold exposure techniques have led to personal and communal biological and anatomical breakthroughs. Thanks for joining me for this conversation, Wim.
Thanks, Russell, for having me.
It's lovely to be at Community, at this beautiful festival, which is about, of course, individual wellness and community awakening. How do your techniques, Wim, pose a challenge to Big Pharma, to the mentality of Big Pharma, which some people say is a sort of a mentality of keeping people sick? I don't want to be simplistic, but it seems that Big Pharma does require a certain degree of institutional sickness.
I don't know how it crept in, but Big Pharma is big because we let them. We let them and we don't make use of our independence. We are not built to go to a doctor in nature. We are built to heal ourselves. Only we are disconnected inside of our own systems. We get into schools, into the system. We get into a narrowed consciousness, which in the end makes us able to control partially our body and mind, and we get conditioned, and then when something happens we don't know how to get into the depth no more, because we had no control of that from the beginning, because we are too much brainwashed or too much schooled in certain patterns, and now we have come up with new ways to regain power over what is ours by the laws of Mother Nature.
I realise now, for the first time, that you're an anarchist and a libertarian. You believe in individual freedom, don't you? It's very, very important to you to be free. This is called Stay Free with Russell Brand, our channel, for a reason, and that's because we believe in as much autonomy and as much independence as possible. But when we say stuff like that about Big Pharma, I'm mindful that my mum's had cancer, say, 8 times, and she's got well through like therapies like radiotherapy, chemotherapy. You know, my mother, it might be argued, is alive because of the expertise in medicine, because of the dedication of doctors. So what is it that you're saying, Wim, about Big Pharma that's separate from what we all understand to be areas of science and medicine that are obviously keeping people alive and are beneficial? Where is the distinction? Where is the line drawn?
Let me tell you a little story to make that clear. A certain moment there came a mother to my home, a mother of 2 children, 5 and 7 years, both with brain tumors. And the whole society and chemotherapists and oncologists and the departments and so forth, and she went to all the doctors and they could not help her. Because their children, both of them, had a very low developed immune system. And she was like, maybe you can do something. I said, I don't know what I can do, but I will go to the end with you until they are cured. And she broke into tears, which I feel still now, because that's real. We cannot take care of our own children. Then what has happened? Is it an industry or what is this? The thing is, at that moment, I felt a deep urge to help this woman, not just because of philosophy, because of an innate capacity because I'm here to take care of children as a puppy. So I did that. She broke into tears because for the first time she met a person who was not saying it is impossible to treat them. It is they cannot go into chemotherapy. It's hopeless. We are against the wall with this. And there you have a mother, desperate and all, seeking answers, seeking possibilities, seeking hope. And she found it there. And that was a human response. And there we started. I said, yeah, crying is good. Stop now. And now we're going to start. And it only took 1 week, or actually 8 days, because they were into being controlled by doctors on their immune cells every 2 weeks, to see if they might be now able to get into chemotherapy. But they were too low already for too long a time. It only took 8 days of a little bit of cold and playfully doing the breathing exercises and playfully going into the cold. 8 days. And their immune cells multiplied in the 2 children, peas on that, 10 times. 10 times. Suddenly, from the 300 children in that oncological department, all with cancers, they were the only kids who could bear double dose chemo. So I'm working actually with the pharmaceuticals, and I give them actually work. And they were able suddenly to take double dose and still don't feel it. Don't feel the chemo. Because they have so much energy through the cold and through the breathing. So this is the way I work. I have nothing against the pharmaceuticals or nothing against nobody. But I also say we have an innate capacity which is far beyond what we think is possible.
I see. So this particular story, you're saying there was one child with her mother, and then there are 2 children.
Yeah.
And both of these children, they knew what their immune response was like prior to your techniques, and they knew what
all
the test.
measured.
So you're saying that we have within us, all of us, an inherent capacity to heal ourselves that we are not exploring. And you're saying that both breath work and exposure to the cold can awaken these techniques. Will they work for cancer? Will they work for heart disease? Will they work for aging?
Anything.
Why? How can it be so robust? How can it work for anything, Wim?
Because nature provided us with these innate capacities. Only we came into an industrialized comfort zone behavior, which has alienated most of our powers and stimulation. If you go into the cold, you train the biggest organ of ours, which is our skin. And all the electroreceptors, temperature receptors, vascular receptors, they come out in the skin. They need stimulation. So deep stimulation comes to millions of receptors connected to 125,000 kilometers of vascular channeling. That is capillaries, arteries, and veins. And they are connected to the heart. So when all the muscles, called the endothelium, which was also the problem in COVID, the endothelium got perforated through IL-6, IL-8, those inflammatory markers. And I told the doctors, but nobody's listening to me, because how can he have a solution? That's not possible. Okay, let's go from COVID and get back. The thing is, endothelium is millions of little primitive muscles in the cardiovascular system. They begin to help the blood flow to go through, so the blood will go much better to all cells, by which you get a lot more energy in the mitochondria. And thus, a cold shower a day keeps the doctor away. Even the doctor is doing it. It means your performance goes way up, the energy, and the heart rate goes down, because all the millions of little muscles suddenly help the blood flow go through. And so the heart, which if it goes in an accelerated pace, creates a signal to the liver to create cortisol and glucose. And that is stress. We are constantly in stress because we have a stressful condition made by the comfort zone behavior, which not stimulates all our functioning. And there is the problem. And then you get killer number one in our society, is cardiovascular-related diseases. And hundreds, possibly billions of people are suffering from low condition of life energetically because of the cardiovascular condition becoming so deteriorated. So muscle not trained, you don't use it, you lose it. And it's a very simple questions, but those, if you bring it like simple, nobody listens. So, so you bring it
so you have to make it a
complicated.
bit more complicated. So I understand what you're saying. You're saying that we've gotten out of touch with how we were evolved to live, the way that we're supposed to move, the way that we're supposed to eat, the way that we're supposed to be exposed to our environment. And we've become conditioned creatures that live sedentary lifestyles in various cubes and boxes, eating food that is overly processed, taking pharmaceutical drugs that are not life-enhancing or life-saving, but are just part of this ongoing system of perpetual ill health. You've made it very clear that you're not saying that all medicine is bad. That would be a foolish thing to say. But there is a kind of an endemic strain in our culture of keeping us sick. What do you think it is, Wim, about these techniques that are connecting us to our deep nature? And also, can anybody do this? Like when I think of someone like my mum who's in her 70s, or my dad who's 80 years old, or people that are watching this that might have conditions like diabetes, cardiovascular conditions, cancer, all sorts of heart conditions. How can this deep breath and exposure to the cold be good for us? And also, isn't it potentially risky? I bet some people say that, you could hurt people doing this stuff.
Yeah, a wrongful practice is bad anytime.